Okay. We're going to look at some different items today. We'll take a look at the asset store. Um, in the process, we'll look at the terrain tool that's provided, and we'll look at prefabs to understand more about how to duplicate and how to use objects. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the asset store right here. And if you didn't create an account, create an account. You could have bypassed it from the very beginning when you signed up in Unity, but more than likely you didn't. But sign in into your account, and it gives you access to a bunch of different models, add-ins, and so forth. And I've already looked up one of these, so it'd be sure I bring up as appropriate. So I'll search for cartoon. Now you can over here search and change your pricing. So this is 0 to 299. So if you want to bring up something that was free, then you grab this right bar here and you scoot it over and click this greater than symbol here. And this will bring up just the free ones. Now, let's say I want to use these buildings in my game. So they're free. Looks like they're pretty new. There's no ratings at all on this. But I went ahead and downloaded this already. So I'll go ahead and click it. And there should be, I've already downloaded it, but on yours it should say download. You click that download and it downloads it, and then there's the import. Now, when you click import here, it doesn't actually import it. It opens up the import window for that package, and there's the import button down here at the bottom, and everything's selected. So if I click import, it'll import that in. Now the scene over here. If I click the scene, and then over here on the left-hand side, I see under the assets, I now have a directory called Cartoon Building. And this is just however they designed it. So they created this directory structure when they uploaded that to the asset store. And so there's prefabs there, models here. Prefabs we're going to talk more about. But if I go to the prefabs and I go up here and I drag gas station and drop it up here, then you can see you have a model that you can use. It's pointing in the wrong direction. But if I like that. Now notice that the coloring over here is that this is a blue cube next to it. If I put my mouse over it, you see it's kind of got a blue tint for it also. And it's a little harder to see, but if my mouse is not on it, you can see it's got a blue coloring where the rest is a black color. Um, this indicates to us that it's a prefab. Now, a prefab is such that you can sit there and you can drop multiple stations on there. Well, let's get the right one, like that. And I'm gonna show you here in a little bit how you can create an array of prefabs. So you can bring in like one model and then create 100 models off that one model. Beauty of a prefab is that if I come down here to this gas station here, if I click open prefab over here in the inspector, it'll take me here and I can change something about this. Let's see, my scale's 100. Let's change to 1,000, like that. And if I exit out of that, you'll see that every one of my stations is now 1,000 for the scale. So any changes you make are reflected in across every one of those instances that you created on that. And let me put that back. Prefab. Put 100 here. Back like that. Okay. So now let me drop on these other ones to show them. Here's the station. And I'll flip that around. Help if I had a ground on here so I could get some kind of perspective, but you get the idea. And then the other one is a garage. So you drop the garage on here and rotate that a little bit. So again, I would recommend in this class that anything you're doing, you don't create your own models unless that's your goal in life. Is use those free ones that are out there. Tons of free models are out here. If I search, maybe I have to put something in. I'll go to home here. And then come down here, change my pricing. Apply that. You see I got 5,837 downloads. Now they're not all 3D models, but there's a lot of them that you can play with. Okay. Now, if I'm over here in Blender, and I've learned some of the editing tools of Blender, and I've created my own model. I'm going to edit by doing tab, and I'm going to choose the edge selection tool right here. Choose this edge. Do an E for extrude, E for extrude, E for extrude, E for extrude, E for extrude. And hold down my shift key and select this edge here and do F for creating a face. Then I went ahead and create some kind of model. Do a tab to exit out. Now if I save this, if I do a file save, and see I'm in downloads, that's fine. I'll call it test import.blend. And click Save Blender File. There's also an export where you can export in FBX format, which is well, actually maybe more than these would be acceptable in Unity. FBX is what I use. So if I have something that's pretty bizarre that I want to export, then instead of exporting the 50 different objects on my Blender file, I just choose one by coming over here to this collection. But anyway, I saved that, I guess. So now I come over here, right click in this gray area, and I choose import new asset. There's some downloads where I was at. Oh, I'm in downloads. Okay, date modified. Here's my test import. And I click import. Now, sometimes these come in pretty huge, so we'll see what this looks like. And if I drag and drop this up here, you see that's what it looks like. You can see the edges I created here, but it's not filled in. Well, I wonder where that is. That's interesting. But anyway, at this point, this is just an asset I brought in. Nothing exciting. If I come here, you see it's just another item over here. So when I create those in Blender and bring them in, then it brings everything in. So see how when I expanded test import, it now has my camera, cube, and light. Okay. Now if I run it, interestingly enough, the camera that I brought in, it assumes that. Well, that's easy enough to do. Over here, you can right click on this and choose remove wherever that's at, delete. There it is, delete. Maybe not. Maybe I got to edit the prefab. Well, test import open. Nope. Interesting. I thought you could remove this. Let's see. Children of a prefab instance cannot be deleted or removed, and the component cannot be reordered. You can unpack the prefab instance, remove its prefab connection. Unpack prefab completely. Okay. So then I come up here and press delete. Cube I want to leave there because the cube is this object right here. The light source, so I probably don't want, because Unity's got its own directional light. So I right click on that and choose delete. I had to clean it up a little bit. It's kind of bizarre that, oh, it is. I just have to get the right angle, I guess. Okay. So at that point, this is no longer a prefab because I just unpacked it. And notice the color, it's black. I can click this and drag it back onto here. And by dragging it back, it made it a prefab. And so then I could take this, remove this from here because that's not a prefab, and drag this back on here, onto there. And now you notice it's a color and my camera's gone. I ran across that camera the other day when I was creating a test game to show to a high school class. And I had forgot that Unity does that. When you bring something in that has a camera, sometimes it grabs onto that camera for whatever reason. Wonder about how that's not showing those other sides though. It's curious. Beauty about a prefab is that I can drag and drop this in multiple places, and each one of these is called an instance. Now let's talk about what an instance is, just so you have an understanding. I'm going to delete those. My son was celebrating getting his driver's license, 4-year journey for him. He has some learning disabilities and he's not used to standard learning. And took him and his friends to the arcade in Wichita. And one of the games is there, and I didn't play it. I should have, because it worked right in with what we're doing here, though it's a 2D game. I think it's called Robotron. And the game is such that you're the character in the middle, and you have a multi-directional gun of some sort, and all these robots are coming in toward you, and you have to shoot your path through to. Oh, it's been a while. Either go to the next level, the next room, or to save individual. Again, I don't remember which, but there's like lots of robots on it. I don't know if I can find that or not. Robotron. Yep, that's it. So you can see here, there's tons of robots on here. Now, for you to move these around on the screen, for what we've seen so far, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. 34 of these type of robots, and maybe some other ones. But if I had like 34, and there's even more in some of these. But if you had 34 of those, you'd have to have 34 game objects, and you'd have to have 34 scripts for each one of them for their movement to keep track where they're moving and so forth. This is not reasonable when you're talking about game development. And I couldn't even imagine how many robots exist here, because I think it keeps going out. I never have played Robotron 2084. But this would not be feasible, really, with what we've shown so far. With prefabs, it's different. With prefabs, you can share the same object, and you have what's called instances. And that's what we're doing with prefabs here. You don't see a power of them here. You say, well, okay, that's nice. You can change like 3 models at once. But we're going to see in another example, I'm going to show you how it's much more powerful than that. Now, one thing about Blender is after I brought in the Blender, let me delete that prefab. And I thought I would delete it up there too, but maybe not. Okay. So this is my original Blender file. I dropped that up here, so forth. If you double click this down here, it'll want to open up in Blender. Now, this is not opening our original file. Our original file is still open down here. So that's our original file. I'll close that. When you open up this is the one that was imported into your project. So this is the Blender file that's in your project folder. Big difference on that. Because if you think you can open up your original model and change it, and it's automatically reflected in Blender, no, or in Unity, it won't be. Okay, so I came here, and it didn't look very good. So I'm going to select them in edit mode. I did a tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to select all these faces here. Boy, my eyes are bad. I think I got them. I did F for face, and it filled that in. Now over on this side, I'm going to select all my faces. I'm holding down my Shift key, and I'm just left mouse clicking on each of these faces. Oops, didn't want to select that. There's other ways of doing that too, and then do F again. So now it's kind of filled in. Now if I do a tab to go back to object mode, this is what it looks like, object mode. If I do a file save, do not even have to close Blender out. It just updated it down here. And so I move that, see how it's now filled in. So it looks a little bit different. So this is how you can work with a Blender file. Now the question is, if I unpack it and get rid of the camera and so forth, could I still do this? And I don't know the answer to that. So let's try it. Come here, I had to unpack prefab completely. Delete the camera, because we know that'd screw us up. Though there is a way to set the default camera. Delete that. Okay, so I got that. I come down here, delete. Well, do I need to delete that? First, let me copy this down. There. Now let me delete this. And I have no clue what that is. Blend 1. It creates blend 1 when you're working with Blender. Okay, so I got this one. I don't think I can edit it anymore in Blender. But let me see. I'll double click it. Right click it. Open. No, it's when by getting rid of those items, it looks like I broke it. So you don't probably want to delete the camera and so forth until you get it to where you want it. Now, one of the projects I'm going to have you do is to create a game, a game screen of some sort, or game scene of some sort, where you have like a floor. You bring in some models, bring in like a robot, whatever you want. Just have fun with it. I want you to get used to bringing models in. You don't have to create your own model in Blender. I did show that, so if you are into that, then you can go over to Blender and play with that a little bit, and you can bring in what you have. Now, it's not so straightforward to bring in colors, and I have to refresh my own memory before I show you how to do that. For example, if I what if I can do a Control Z? I think it said you can undo it. Import new asset. Okay, so got that. And if I go over here, maybe I'll click this. Of course, this is assuming I remember how to change colors in Blender. So I did it just like last week. You think I remember, but let's see. Where's the colors at? There it is. I'm going to change colors. That obviously wasn't the right color. Got my cube selected. Base color. I would have thought that would have done it. Yeah. I'll have to refresh my own memory about that. Could be because I'm not in the right window here. That's interesting. That's even more interesting. Okay, was that I need to be over here? Okay, so I got that. I saved that. I don't think it'll be updated automatically over here though. I lie. I guess that is how you change colors. Seems like you had to do something special. Maybe it's when you apply an image to this where you have to do something special. But anyway, I digress. So that's project one. Create yourself a town or something like that. Is there any questions on that? Okay. Get that creating. We're going to watch part of a little video. And then I'll put this link for this video out there in Blackboard. They're constantly changing. So the terrain system I used before, I thought this class has evolved into a new feature of it, which is good. Don't get me wrong. I'll let that finish grading. Because I want to show you where everything is on this. It's not hard to use, but getting to that point is a little bit of a challenge. If you've never done it before. We brought in the town, little cartoon town there, and it was over in our assets. And we just dragged and dropped it and so forth. Not everything comes in as a model. Some things, when you import them, comes in a different way. Can you hear that okay? Okay. Well, make that look a little bit better. Okay. So we go to window here, and we go to package manager. And it'll tell us in the video to go to advanced and show preview packages. Now this is these are packages, and we're going to look at Text Mesh Pro, which I've already got installed on here. But that'll be another package we look at. These are like additional features you can add into Unity. So they keep evolving it and so forth. Okay, so show preview. Okay, so again, these are all things you can put in there. You can have an FBX exporter, film and TV toolbox. I couldn't tell you what most of this is. I'm going down to the reins. Well, yeah, I thought I saw it there. Let's go back and see terrain tools. Pro Builder. Terrain. Maybe it's because I already installed it, which is weird because I've already installed the package I saw down here. Let me back up, see if he's showing terrain tools. Okay, it really is terrain tools, but I don't have it anymore because I installed it. You should have it since you haven't installed it. Okay. See, I don't have that here. Well, let me go to the asset store on mine. That's where mine popped up on anyway. When I followed his instructions, it also made me come here to there and search for terrain. I thought it was the one. Terrain tools unit from Unity. Okay, that looks like our sample asset pack. Okay, so let me click that. I was looking for one from Unity Technologies. So I click import. Yeah, maybe. Needs the Unity upgrade to version 2019.1.1. Ah. Show preview packages. Here's Text Mesh Pro, which I've installed. Why doesn't it have my... Well, I'm not going to show that right now then. So I need to figure out why it won't come in. The idea on it is that you can then add a terrain onto it. Like you see here, game object, 3D object, terrain. It'll drop a terrain on here. And let's see, over here, there's a paint terrain. And you create neighbor terrains. Click the edges to create neighbor terrains. There you go. Besides creating the neighbor terrains, you can then do a raise the lower terrain paint texture. In order to do that, you have to edit terrain layers and create a new layer. Now, if you have downloaded that asset pack that they have, then over here you can choose like snow, you can choose rock, you can choose so forth, and that's the beauty of it. You can also remove a layer and so forth. Let's see, this paint texture, raise the lower terrain. And there's different brushes here. And these would allow you to then, if you had those pictures, you could paint like images on there. It's not quite that that idea. Each one of these is different where you can grab it and so forth. As I'm running that over, see how it's creating those? I'm holding down my left mouse button, and as I'm holding it down, I can raise my terrain. Now, these are different ways you can raise it. Some of them are more extreme than others. Like if I choose that brush, see how you can click there and you can create that rocky area. If I stay in that area and I keep moving my mouse back and forth, and I can create that. Now, this is just a standard terrain package you see right here. But I would go ahead and install that so you can have those images to work with. It's probably just something I'm doing wrong where I can't see it after I've installed it. Does that make sense on creating terrain? It's very easy to do. Creating something that's decent is almost impossible for me. I don't have that creative eye. Where's my camera at? Okay, my camera is right inside there, so let me back up. Where am I at? Red is can't see. X and Z. So X -10, Z -20, -50, -100, 80, 50, 20, -100. Okay, that looks a little bit better, maybe. I was just trying to get back far enough so you can see what it looks like. Now imagine, instead of it being all white, imagine if you actually brought in those images and pictures and you could apply it. Lots of different things you can do here. That's raise or lower terrain. Remember, if you choose this and you do an F, it'll bring you, oh, not in the game though. Okay. If you had choose this, you do an F, takes you into that. Choose this one, do an F, takes you to that. That one, F, F. So, brush size is how much it impacts. So if I had it that way, then when I click here, it apply it in lots of different places, like that. So you can create a mountain terrain fairly easy. It also has a collider that goes along with it, where you could have it handle collisions. Here's where you can paint your texture. Since I don't have any textures, I can't do that. Smooth the height, stamp the terrain. This is trees. We're going to look at a different way of doing trees. Paint details. And items on the basic terrain and trees and so forth. Anyway, that's the terrain. Now I do want you to create a terrain. That's a second project, to create a terrain of some sort. Try to make it look as good as you can. Realize that I'm not very artistic myself, so my critique is not very critical. So whatever you come up with is fine. Okay, power prefabs. Here I downloaded Alien from the Turbo Squid, and I'm not sure if I mentioned Turbo Squid or not. It's a place where you can get free models. TurboSquid.com, I think, but .com. And you get free models. And I went here and I downloaded an Alien. And I made the Alien assuming that's even going to come up. This is still redrawing that. So I'm going to close that so I can kill the machine. Comes up here. You can search for 3D models. I showed this the other day, didn't I? Okay, good. So what I did is I grabbed this Alien off of there. I did not put enough effort into it. And so then I brought it into the game here. The Alien was laying down. Instead of bringing it into Blender like I should have and rotate it, which would have been about a 2-minute job, I dealt with the Alien laying down. So then I had to change him so he was standing up, or she, or whatever it is. Now, what my goal here was, when I play this, I wanted that prefab to be repeated many times. And so you see there's thousands of those prefabs out there. I'm guessing thousands. This is like a Space Invaders type game. They're going back and forth, and each time back and forth, they get closer and closer to you. And if I run this, we got one prefab. And I don't remember which one it was I used. Oh, Alien 2. My Alien was just a test on that first one. And you notice when it runs, it creates all these clones. If I scroll down, Each one of those is a separate game object now. Okay, so how I did that is I create an empty. And how you create an empty is you right click on it and I click create empty. You want an empty is a game object that you can have present throughout your entire game. And that way, if all of your characters die, you can't access the code behind those characters anymore because you've destroyed those objects. When you have an empty, then that's always there, no matter what. Now the empty is this game object here, and it truly is empty. There's nothing there. There is a position. That's it though. And I attach a script to it, instances. And this shows you the power of prefabs. If you go into game development, you have to understand how objects work and prefabs. Just simplifies coding quite a bit. Okay, I guess I already had it loaded. Maybe not. Okay, here it is. Now for the prefabs. I declared something called a public game object name of prefab. What is this? Well, if I come back to my game over here and I click the empty game object, this right here. Over here we got a name of prefab, Alien 2. That means that I could click this Alien 2 and drag and drop it right here and change what the object is, what the prefab is. So that way, if I'm testing, there's probably no need for me to test actual aliens or whatever my model is. I can put cubes in there. That has to be a prefab. So if I, created a game object and 3D object and created a cube here, it's got this cube here. I have to drag that cube and drop it here. By dropping it here, it creates a prefab. So I'll get rid of that. So now I can, in theory, take this cube here and drag and drop it up here to change it to Alien 2. I won't do that because it changes the tags, and I don't have time to change them all back and so forth. Not that there's that many. But that's how you change it to different objects. Testing mode, you want the cubes going back and forth. In production, when you're getting ready to send your game out, you want to put the actual model in there. And that's why somebody in the art department will be sitting there in a game development house, and they'll be developing the model. They got specifications of what needs to be done, and you're working with some kind of dummy object. Now this right here, when you put this bracket on here, public game object, and then beginning bracket, closing bracket, and then call it all GS. All GS can be whatever name you want. This creates an array of objects, specifically an array of prefabs. And this is a dynamic array. An array is a list, which means I could have 1,000 of them, I could have 2,000 of them, 50,000, so forth. And then I want to arrange them by rows and columns. So I came up with that. And this public float space handles the space between aliens so they're not right on top of each other. And then this is how fast my aliens go. And the direction is whether they're going left or right. So that's what I kept track of there. So having that here, you notice I have 30 rows by 5 columns. Now I changed it for the other class so it had a dimension of height. But space between is 15 and the alien speed is 15. If I change this to 50 and run this. All of a sudden you're going to see your aliens go much faster. There's 500. There's 5,000. I better stop that. I'll crash the machine. Not the machine, I'll crash the video. That's just sitting there trying to record all the changes. But I wanted to just control that with the number there. Space is how far, again, they are apart. So if I change that to be less, they'll be closer together and so forth. I made those so that you could drop different prefabs in there and it would still look decent once you adjusted the spacing. Now here in my start is where I create my dynamic array of prefabs of aliens. And I have a werewolf model that I've used sometimes and drop it in there. And I got for z is equal 0 to rows. X is from 0 to columns. And then I added this dimension y, which is up and down. And I had to go from 0 to 4. So it has 5 rows, I guess, going up. So as it runs, you notice that if you count them, there's 5 going up. I could have more than that. If I come up here, this is the beauty of using these public floats, or not public float, any public variables. Public int, what do you call it when you go up? Up rows. And instead of hard coding this as 5, I'm going to say up rows. Save that. And so now over here, once it's done updating, I see up rows. So I can put 10 here. So I'll go 10 high. So now when it gets over the side, you see it's going up quite a bit. Beauty of using the dynamic prefabs is they can be destroyed. And I don't think I ever got to that in this example, but how we create the instance. And you see the command is called instantiate. Robotron, I create one model, one prefab of that one type of robot. And then if I want 34 of them on the screen, I have to instantiate it 34 times. And it'll create an instance each time. Now here, I'm passing in my name of the prefab that I'm creating an instance of. And then I'm doing a new vector 3. This is creating a position dynamically within here. And I really don't know why I did x minus 3 times space. There's probably a good reason at some point in time. Let me change that back to x times space, and y times space, and z times space. And then this is by default transfer rotation to be just your standard. Okay, so go ahead and save that. Remember me saying I was too lazy to go into Blender, or not too lazy, but I thought about it too late to go into Blender. This right here is how you loop through all of your aliens. I'm doing a game object dot find objects with tag. Well, with tag, what does that mean? Well, over here, my alien 2. If I clicked open prefab here, this is what my alien looks like. And I could rotate it here also. I don't know why I did it in code, to be honest. I was creating this kind of fast. That's my defense. And up here is a tag. And see how my tag up here says alien. If I had something else set, then my game would not work. To add a new tag, you go up here to add tag. And you click this little plus right here. And then you could say spaceship. Let's say I was going to put a spaceship in this. And then click save. You see spaceship there. Now, if you go back to your alien, open prefab, you can change this tag to whatever you want. You can change the spaceship. But anyway, that's why I did create an alien. And I set it here. By setting my prefab tag as alien, then when I run this and it creates those thousands of aliens, every one of them has that tag. Does that make sense on the tags? Okay. Biggest thing I forget to do is I forget to set the tag. Now this is going through this all GS is our array of prefabs, and the dot length is the how many's in there, and you have to do a less than, and it always starts at 0 because this is your first one. Numbering with arrays and strings and or arrays, strings and lists and whatever always starts at 0 in programming, and then this increases it by 1. Now, we haven't really talked about this a whole lot. Just realize that if you were to recreate this, you just have this line exactly as is. This is defining a game object as a G. And I say G is equal to all GS IX. And then that gets our G, our game object G. And then we can rotate it. And this allowed me to rotate it so my aliens were no longer lying down. Okay, now this is the part moved it back and forth. Probably don't really have time to really go into that code. We're going to explore this code more. Let me try to put a cube on here just to show you, see if I can get it to work. Okay, so here's my prefab alien 2. I'm going to drop the cube on here. So it now has a new prefab. Now the problem is that it has to have the alien tag. So you see how I got the game object selected here, and that says alien, but let me open the cube, open a prefab. This is untagged. It's not going to see it. So I have to come here and choose alien. Now it says alien. Now in the process, I want to make sure my alien 2 doesn't say alien. It does. So I'm going to say untagged. You do the back arrow right here to go back here, and I run that, and you now see I have a gazillion cubes on there. This is taking up less memory than that model. This is what I'd want to do all my testing with. Again, it's easy to flip back. If you go to game object here, that cube I want to replace with, which one was it? Alien 2, I believe. There. We want to open up these prefabs, set them back. So I'll take the cube, open prefab. Yeah, where's my tag? There's my tag. Change that to untagged. Go to my alien 2, open the prefab, and set that to alien. Now I have to do my back here and run it. Then I see my aliens there. And you see it's going slower. So when you drop on like 1,000 game objects, it takes up some memory. Now, part of this, what we'll look at also is a bullet, such that if we fire off our bullet, then we want our bullet to kill a particular instance and bring it back. Some games, these are important. Some games, they don't matter so much because you don't have many of a different type of model. You just have one. But either way, we're going to look at prefabs more. One of the things we're going to download from the asset store is a controller. And it handles everything for us in terms of our 3D movement. Handles rotating your object, your player. It handles jumping, running, everything. I'm going to create a basic player next time and show you some of the headaches of trying to go through a terrain with your basic player. And then we'll understand the power of that, what Unity provides to us. So first project, again, is to create you some kind of scene, drop on Cartoon Town or whatever you want, your choice. Just have fun with it. And second one is to create a terrain. Questions on any of that? No. No, this is just getting used to bringing in things from the asset store and positioning them and making it look like a regular game scene. You're welcome. Well, have a I'm trying to think if I see you later. No, I don't see you later, do I? Have a good afternoon.